And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again as part of our American Heart Health Month. We're excited about today's broadcast joining us on Amazon Live, as well as to our friends at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, as well as we have our friends joining us on YouTube today as well. And also, we have some special guests that are going to be joining us today to talk to us not only about the importance of health, but also their success and making a difference in the lives of others. On the Amazon Live side, we do appreciate you all being with us. See you guys already coming in there. You'll notice in between us, you'll see a carousel that'll either be below us or on the side. That'll have some of the items we're talking about today, including the product Panoxol Plus you all have heard us talk about before here on Amazon Live. And we have some great books as well. We'll be talking more about that with our guests too. We're excited to welcome to our program today Willis Victory, Holly Robinson Peete, and Rodney Peete. We're going to be talking to them today not only about their own relationship together and working to make a difference, but also in the products that we're talking about in the carousel as well. Thanks to the three of you for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Cyrus.
To be here.
Hey, glad to have you all with us. Willis, I want to kick things off with you because you're kind of the reason why we have our special guest today. So, Willis, it's great to have you back on with us. You and I connected because of Panoxol Plus. I've been taking it myself since last year. We've talked about the benefits of it. So appropriate for us to have this conversation during Heart Health Month. Willis, I want to begin with you. What has it been like for you to spread the word, not only about the importance of our heart health, but how Panoxol Plus can help with that?
Well, Cyrus, thanks and congratulations for all your continued success. And it's been a pleasure just following you. As you know, it's Heart Health Month, and Black women are affected by heart health, 59% actually after the age of 40. Lost my mother to heart health, and obviously we've seen a lot of that in our community. So getting the word out has been something that has been a passion, obviously guided by some pain. I think that's a part of a lot of our motivation in life and our turning points and where we get to finding that purpose. So it's been a sense of urgency, Cyrus, especially after the pandemic and what we're all going through health-wise and in our families. And just really want to get it out to the community and our people. And obviously, we've done a good job of getting it out to impoverished countries as well, Cyrus.
Yeah. And you've been able to collab with some amazing people, including those on the side of you, Willis. So I want you to talk to our audience then about how you've been able to work with individuals like Holly Robinson Peete and also Rodney Peete, not only, of course, in spreading the word about the importance of heart health, but also in the initiatives that they're involved in too.
Well, it's been a pleasure working with Rodney. And obviously, I'm connecting with his wife through him in their foundation for autism. I have found these two to be particularly interesting due to their commitment to the community. Rodney being a pinnacle coming through the Black quarterback position when Black quarterbacks weren't necessarily getting a nod there. And knowing what their purpose and their passion is and what they mean to the community and how passionate they are has been something that has really interested me, and just very gracious and honored and humbled to be a part of a quality group of people in a couple like the Peetes here.
So, Rodney, I want to bring you into, thanks to Holly and you for being on with us. I want to talk about this for you because, I think, overall people look at yourself and look at Holly and the success you've been able to have. Rodney, what has it been like for you to use your platform to be able to make a difference and to show other people how they can be able to do the same thing?
It's been fantastic. The journey has been great, and and it becomes enhanced when you have kids, and we have 4 of them, and raising 4 kids, it's not what you say, it's what you do. And that's what they respond to. And so our goals as individuals and then as a couple, as we started dating and then got heavily involved and eventually got married, were very much aligned in what we wanted to do. And using our platform for good, whether it be me, from the football field, and Holly from entertainment. It's been great for us because our voices can get to people in ways that others may not be able to get to people. So it's and then when things hit home and they become personal for you, like Parkinson's for Holly and her dad, and then when I got involved and met Holly, I had to educate myself on Parkinson's disease, and we jumped in with both feet and really understood it. Holly had been doing it and taking care of her dad for years, but I hadn't understood it. And then fast forward to us having, kids. Our twins were born, and at the age of 3, our son was diagnosed with autism. So, for us, it was not only something that, because we had already been giving back in our different ways, but when it hits home and hits personal to you, it enhances it even more. And we felt very fortunate to be two people that had careers, that had a voice, that had means to do what we could for our family. But there were so many people that we came across and so many people that we met that didn't have access to funds, didn't have access to programs. And we got together and looked at each other and go, we've got to help the people that can't help themselves. And that's kind of been our journey along the way. And it's been very fulfilling.
Yeah. Hello to you, Purvis. I see you over there on the Instagram side. I'm sorry, the LinkedIn side. I appreciate you being on with us. Holly, I'm going to bring you in because I appreciate that. I'm going to be actually mentioning some of the things from the two of you have also written books. We're going to be talking about those books here in a bit, and they're also here on the Amazon Live side. You guys can be able to pick those up. But Holly, of course, everyone knows you from television and film. They'll be able to see some of those on the Amazon Live side. What has it been like for you to use your platform to be able to entertain, but also to make a difference as well?
Oh, first of all, thank you for having us. And it has been a blessing. I remember when RJ, our son, was diagnosed with autism when he was just 3, 21 years ago. And I remember we were just gut punched, devastated, like we didn't have information on it. And it was just, we were rookie parents, of twins. We didn't know what to expect to do. And I remember coming out of the, sitting in the waiting room after we got that diagnosis, and there was a woman out there, I guess, was waiting for her child. And she was like, you're going to see one day, God is blessing you with this. It's going to be a blessing. And that was like, Cyrus, the last thing that we wanted to hear at that moment. I wanted to hear at that moment because I was sort of in a really sad place, right? But then fast forward all these years, and I look at all the blessings that we've been able to bestow on other people, how just sharing our story has been life-changing for so many others. And I give that to, that credit to Rodney Peete because, he was the first person that said we should start a nonprofit. And then later on, when we were talking about autism, he was a little bit less enthusiastic about having the conversation out loud because it involved his son. And he was processing autism at the same time. So I say that because when we sat down to have a conversation about how we're going to share this story publicly, he wasn't all for it. He wasn't all in. So we sat down and literally did a pros and cons list, and then really understood how we had an awesome platform that we could use to help so many others. And then I won that argument. I won all the arguments, right? But no, seriously, it was just such a collaboration for both of us to use our platform, and we've done it together, I think, quite well for the last 26 or 7 years.
Holly, I want to bring up, I'm going to highlight it in the carousel on the Amazon Live side, the book Same But Different, Teen Life on the Autism Express. And what I love about this book, and I'm going to highlight it for those on the Amazon Live side, you guys can see it there in print as well as a Kindle edition. What I love about this book is that it really does open up the conversation for everyone. You all have the children's book, My Brother Charlie. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Is that also been part of the mission for you, Holly, to be able to let people of all ages see not only how they can be able to be a part of this conversation, but also how we can be a part of that support system too?
Yeah, we wanted to, well, the first thing as parents, we get this diagnosis, we went to the bookstores and the libraries, and there wasn't really anything there that was very inclusive and representative of who we were and what RJ looked like. So we knew we had to create that. And that was part of that journey, that blessing to help others, which was just to get some more awareness out there and more acceptance out there in 2000, when there was there were very few people out there talking about autism. And so we decided to write those books. I'm really proud of my brother Charlie, because it was written almost 13 something years ago, and our daughter co-wrote it with me. It was really her idea to write this book. And then Same But Different is very specifically geared to middle school kids middle school kids who really can get a little bit mean. Like kids in junior high and middle school can be tough. And we wanted to share the story of what that was like for RJ being in middle school and processing his autism. It was difficult. He didn't have any friends. He didn't have a support system at school. It was very hard. So these books were part of our sort of Peete family platform that we wanted to get out there and awareness about autism.
And it's such an important conversation. Bill on the Amazon Live says, thanks so much for sharing. This is so important and inspiring. And KFRAG, thank you so much for the follow there on the Amazon Live side. Thank you for hitting that follow button. And they said, such a great cause and great people. When you hear comments like that, Holly, again, I mean, your husband, you're used to praise for what you all have done in the public. When you hear praise, though, for the work you're doing that is impacting the lives of families, people who can look at what you all are talking about and going through and say, you know what, that's me. I mean, what has that been like for you to be able to process?
It's been great. It's been so cathartic whenever you're going through something and then you share, with someone else or another family, and that helps them through their journey. That's a great feeling. We don't do it to feel great, but we do it because we feel like it's necessary. It's part of our journey. But I always say I wouldn't change RJ. I wouldn't change my kid for the world, but I would try to change the world for my kid. And part of that is just by reaching out to people collectively or platforms like this, or even individually, and talking them through this journey, which was something we didn't really have. Rodney and I didn't have a lot of people we could call up and talk to, and someone who has a kid with autism who's 24 now and talk about their journey. We didn't see a lot of that. So we try to be there for as many people as we can. And it feels great. It feels great to know that somebody saw us on TV or saw us on here and said, hey, I don't feel so alone and I feel seen. And that was part of our journey in the beginning.
Yeah. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, you're watching Cyrus Webb Presents here on the Amazon Live platform, and joined today by Willis Victory, our good friend that introduced us to Panoxol Plus. Also, we have the Peetes joining us today, Holly Robinson Peete and Rodney Peete. You see him there front and center. We're talking to them not only about the thing, of course, it is a big thing for this month, that being heart health, but also making a difference, even outside of just talking about heart issues. And the Peetes have definitely been able to do that with their Holly Rod Foundation. We're going to remind you all how you can stay connected with them. On the Amazon Live side, you all will see the different books that we're talking about, including Panoxol. Feel free to be able to click on those either beneath you or on the side of you. Also, if you guys are not following us here on the Amazon Live side, you'll see the follow button there. That'll keep you notified of all the great programming we have here. Hello to you, Pauline, over there on the Facebook side. We see you. Rodney, I want to ask you a question about this book. I'm going to highlight it on the Amazon Live side, Not My Boy. I love the fact you are really open, honest, and raw in this book. I think so many times, especially individuals in the public, right, we're used to seeing you smiling on the red carpets or seeing you at events, and you really talk about the human aspect of not only, of course, the challenges that can come in the family when there's a diagnosis like autism, but also the impact it has on everybody. What has that been like for you to hear from other men about what it's done for them to see you open up about something like that?
Well, Cyrus, you hit it right there. That is the best feeling in the world. I played for, been playing football since I was 8 years old. Went to college, got cheers, and played in the NFL, and all those years were fantastic. But as Holly mentioned earlier, I was the one in denial. I was the one that said, hence the title of the book is Not My Boy. So when we got that diagnosis, it was like, no way, this is not my boy. No way is my boy, whatever you want to call him, because I didn't know much about autism at that time. I said, no. And I fought it for such a long time because I came from a world of You know, if I was going to learn something, my dad was going to coach me out of it. My dad was going to coach me through it. And that's what I tried to do with RJ. So I was playing in Oakland at the time, and Holly at that moment rolled up her sleeves. And as she mentioned, she tried to call everybody. She talked to every doctor, therapist, anybody she could reach out to try to learn and educate herself. In the meantime, I didn't want to hear it. She would send me magazines and books and articles and everything, and I would not read them because I didn't want to believe that our son got this diagnosis. And it took some, as you mentioned in the book, I didn't want to write a book and it not be raw. I didn't want to write a book and not really go all the way in. And Holly was the one that said it to me: if you're gonna write it, you got to write it. Don't sugarcoat it. Just, you got to write it. And I did, because we did, even within our marriage, we went through some really challenging times that we almost didn't make it. And thank God that I have her in my life, because she is such a strong woman that brought me through it. And so now when I am out, or I'm at a game, Dodger Stadium, or wherever we go sometimes, and I see men or feel the men come up to me, or they come up to me and they say, thank you for your book. Thank you for speaking out. I didn't have the courage to do it until I read your book, or I heard your story, or I heard you talking about it. Because we as men, we don't share those things. We don't talk about those things. And it's been so rewarding for me to hear the men come out and talk about it, because we all oftentimes talk about the mama warrior, and the mom is always there. And most of the time it is the mom. And it is dads like me that are in denial. But there are a lot of men out there that want to be supportive and just don't know how, or are ashamed, or their pride gets involved and they're not allowed to do it. So that is so rewarding when I hear men come up to me and say, thank you for your book. Thank you for sharing. It has allowed me to have a better connection with my son or daughter.
Yeah, such a great thing. Holly, I want to bring you back in here, and then we're going to throw it back over to Willis, because I think one of the funny stories in the book, Holly, of Not My Dad, was when Rodney was counting the amount of times he said autism in the group. and I think it was funny to me reading, because I think, again, when we don't know, that's one of the things, of course, that causes fear. What has it been like for you, Holly, to help others to get over the fear? Because a lot of times when you don't understand something, or when you feel like something's going to put someone at a disadvantage, especially someone you love, you want to protect them. What has it been like for you not to walk in that fear?
Oh, well, first of all, I was in a lot of fear. I had a lot of fear first. People thought, now they see all this advocacy, 2 decades of advocacy, and they think, oh, I got the diagnosis, and the next day I was out there on the Oprah show. No, I was like, it took a while. We talk a lot about Rodney's denial and how that happened, but it took a while for me to accept and be able to talk publicly about RJ's autism, because I didn't understand it. And I am a Virgo mama who has to know everything about everything. And I could not wrap my mind around what autism was, and I had no experience with it. So I was very fearful for many years. So I say that because I know parents who are getting the diagnosis today, or somebody who's listening to this right now, will be like, well, how do you just like wake up and go, oh, the kid has autism. Okay, I'm going to go to work. Well, you need to take time to process what that is and how you feel about that. So, but now, years later, now that I've seen some victories in RJ's life, it's emboldened me and made me feel more hopeful for him. And I share those stories because I know that helps other people see the possibilities for their children's lives. And we always encourage them, don't ever let anybody tell you or limit the possibilities for the life of your child. Autism is a spectrum disorder, and there's so many, every kid is different. Kids respond differently to different things. But keeping the dialogue open, normalizing neurodiversity, accepting who these children are, and coming a little bit into their world. These are things that we talk about now, and obviously that's very helpful. So it was a little scary for a while, but now it does feel good to walk more in empowerment. It doesn't mean there's not scary days and fearful days, but it does feel very good to know that we're walking in a good trajectory.
You mentioned, of course, the children's book. I mentioned My Brother Charlie, and that is just one of the ways. How do you see these books, Holly, continuing even after they've been published and available for the world? How do you see them continue to be able to start those conversations, even in the home, even as we expect in the classroom, but especially in the home right now?
Well, one of the reasons why we wrote My Brother Charlie is because we couldn't find any children's books on autism explaining what it was. And when RJ was at school, he was ostracized because people just didn't know. They just thought he was an aloof kid. He didn't talk much. And so we really went down to school one day and we sat down in front of a bunch of third graders and we tried to tell them what autism was. It was hard, man. We were scared. That was Rodney faced linebackers that less scary than that. But because at that age they think they know everything, right? And they think they're very, so try to explain what autism was through My Brother Charlie was a valuable tool. And we wrote it because we wanted teachers and libraries and schools to have it all across the country and the world, and it's in different languages. So we're very glad that we were able to reach so many families to explain what autism was, because oftentimes it's very difficult to understand what it is, even through your family. So that it's been a marvelous tool, and we have a follow-up book coming up this summer, and we're very excited about it.
Well, I'm so glad to have the two of you on with us, and we'll be bringing you all back around to be able to share how our audience can find out more about Holly Robinson Foundation and the great things you're doing. Willis, I want to bring you back in. We also have Dr. Roni back on with us as well. As we are thinking about these conversations, and again, it is Heart Health Month, yes, but I think us having these conversations is so important when it comes to our livelihood, especially as people are kind of looking at how we can be able to make a difference. What is your hope, Willis, as people kind of listen to chats like this and think about themselves and their own families? What do you hope it does about the conversations they can have with their loved ones?
Well, Cyrus, Rodney and Holly said it is transparency and opening up is so hard, especially for us men. We don't share a lot of our pain and our concerns. We're taught to kind of mask those things away and hide those in our masculinity. And it's very powerful having that kind of transparency and that kind of honesty to one another, especially in public. It really helps a lot of people, and it gives them strength and hope.
Yeah. I'm going to bring Dr. Roni in here. Willis, you have been on with her on the Amazon Live side, helping to keep us updated on all the great things we need to know about our health. Dr. Roni, we appreciate you being back on with us. I want to ask you about these conversations you've been able to work with your own patients and clients. What has it been like for you to have these conversations with them about the importance of their health and really taking charge of their health, Dr. Roni? Oh, Dr. Roni, you can't hear us? Okay. We're going to work to try to get Dr. Roni back on with us. Hey, one of the things that happens sometimes with technology, Willis, I want to ask you this question when it comes to Panoxol Plus. I know that's one of the things you and we've talked about here. I'm going to highlight it here on the Amazon Live side here. One of the things we talked about is the importance of those conversations. I had a doctor on the radio side today, and he was talking about the importance of being your own best advocate. And we see that Holly and Rodney have been able to do that when they couldn't find a resource like a book, being able to now write their own books and have those for the world. Is that what you hope, Willis, happens, is that people realize how they can be their own best advocate?
Well, yes, Cyrus, that's what we represent in Plant-Based Sciences International, and bringing the education and awareness to people so that they can do the due diligence, the research, and educate themselves and come back for questions and encouragement other than condescending behavior and conversations. Just upliftment, encouragement, and feeling comfortable to be open. And that comes from leading with love, Cyrus. And we have to do that in a way where people are comfortable. They're open, they're honest, and they trust us to not just listen to them, but uplift them and give them the kind of information and guidance that they would need, prayer and thoughts. And that's what our society needs right now, Cyrus, just a little more encouragement.
It's so important. So moving forward, Willis, we're going to let you know, be able to tell our audience how they can stay connected with all the great things that you're doing, even outside of the product Panoxol Plus. What is your hope when it comes to not only, of course, looking at this month as being a heart health month? What do you hope people realize about the importance of checking in with themselves and also checking in with their doctors and having those important conversations?
The hope is accountability. To be responsible to ourselves. We have to take care of one another, and we have to be accountable. So uplifting that awareness, that education, and keeping one another accountable, going back to the old biblical rhetoric, iron sharpens iron, and not being embarrassed to ask for help and encouragement. My mentor always told me, you can't be afraid to let other people inspire you and take you to different places. So again, it goes back to love, positivity, and encouragement and accountability to one another.
Yeah, such a great point. Rodney, I want to throw it to you. I mean, as our audience, I want to say Keith Matthews on the Amazon Live site says, well said, be your own best advocate. It's so important, I think. What is your hope, Rodney, as you continue to have these important conversations and the work you're doing with Holly Robinson Foundation, that people realize about the importance of the communication, but also the action in their own lives?
Yeah, I think first off, Willis did say it. We can't be afraid to ask for help, and we can't have so much pride that we can't recognize when others are trying to help us, and that could be people that are very close to us. Look, I'm dealing with it. I've dealt with it in my life, with my wife, and being a professional athlete, it comes with a lot of dangerous things, I would say, because sometimes you think you're invincible, and sometimes you think that I can live through the pain, or I can deal with the pain, when you don't necessarily have to. So you keep a lot of things internally, and it builds up. And that's not just emotions, but that's also your health, where she's had, it's like been pulling teeth with me, for me to tell her, hey, my knee is bothering me, or I'm not feeling well. She forced me to get a knee replacement after I was just refusing to do it for so many years, and it turned out to be one of the best decisions I did in my life, because I don't wake up in the morning with a sore knee that takes me 45 minutes to get warmed up to just walk to the bathroom. So it's things like that. Obviously within our community, high blood pressure. Are you eating right? Are you doing the right thing? Are you exercising? And it's really important. And I see it, firsthand from a lot of my peers, a lot of my colleagues, a lot of guys, when they stop playing, their health becomes a major issue with either overweight or diabetes or high blood pressure, or just not taking care of themselves. So it's important for me. And I've lost several close friends. So it's important for me to try to, as much as I can, be a walking, talking example of how, as you get older, you can live better, and you don't have to settle for what was in the past. You can continue to get better. And as we know and find out more things about health, about diet, about all the things, and my man Willis here is educating me on some of the benefits of some of the natural foods, some of the things that we've been talking about. It's something that needs to be shared to the masses, especially in the African American community and people of color.
Yeah, such a great point. Holly, what about for you? I mean, what has it been like for you to have shown people how they can have these vocal conversations? And what is your hope that what you've been able to do and the courage you've been able to show does in helping other people do the same thing?
Yes, I love be your own best advocate. That's just so true. It's a hard habit to break, especially when you're working, you got kids, and you're always putting yourself at the back of the line. You don't really take care of yourself like you need to. That whole, put the oxygen mask on first. We're not doing that. Like, we're constantly moving with our heads down. So you have to almost be mindful and figure out, and strategize about your life. And that can be hard with a lot of distractions. But I think for me, as I approach a certain age, a big milestone in a couple of years, I I feel like talking more about your health openly and honestly is the way to go. And having these conversations with my girlfriends about their health, whether it's heart health, whether it's, you know, hormonal health, menopausal stuff. I mean, these are conversations that we didn't used to talk about very much, and certainly not on a great platform like this. So I think having these dialogues, having these conversations about health and diet and, you know, and plant-based diets. I mean, that is something, especially in our community, that people would never talk about back in, you know, my dad's day and when they were younger. Like, so we're now being able to go into conversations in ways that we haven't before. And I think that's so encouraging. It's so encouraging. So I just welcome everyone to have these conversations, and feeling very, very good about the trajectory again of where we're going health-wise, just based on the conversations that we're having, things that we never used to say. Hearing Rodney Peete say, you know, that, you know what, it was hard for me not to like have some reaction, because I mean, getting up out of bed with the football player whose joints, you know, he would be like the Nipsey Russell and the Wiz, who would slide some oil to, you know what I'm talking about, and he, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, get that knee replaced, like just do it. And this went on for years. And so these conversations that you have with your spouse and so just it made me feel really good. I mean, his knee was replaced years ago, but it made me really feel some kind of way to hear him say, wow, you know, I should have done it a long time ago, and my wife was just looking out for me. So I love these conversations, because who knows who else is listening. I'm sure there's some other stubborn hubbies out there that might listen to what their wives say.
Right. Right. So true. Benny says on the Amazon Live site, forums like this are so critical to break down stigmas, as we've learned as law, especially as a Black man. And I think that is so true. And that's why we're so glad all of you could be on with us. Again, everyone, Holly Robinson Peete, Rodney Peete, Willis Victory have been our guests. We've been talking about their success, but also about how they're using their platforms, with Willis really pushing the importance of heart health, having those dialogues, the Peete being able to use their platform with the Holly Rod Foundation and really talking about these very important conversations. Holly, since we have you there front and center, how can our audience stay connected with you and find out more information about the foundation?
Well, the foundation is hollyrod.org. We are everywhere on social media, all across Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. We're everywhere. And then you can find me 24/7 on social media at Holly R. Peete. Holly, HOLLYRPEETE. I love social media. When it's used for good, it can be so amazing. It can be, in some cases, life-saving. We know about the bad stuff, but if we can really focus on how sharing our platforms in a good way, especially when it comes to health and wellness, man, it's an absolutely amazing tool.
Yeah, such a great point. Willis, again, thank you so much for bringing the gang together today. How can our audience find out more information about you and the work that they're doing, Willis?
We are on www.panoxo.com, and we will do some press releases here with our partnership, and obviously I will keep you in the breast with Panoxo. And again, it's been great following you, supporting you. Congratulations on all your success, and thank you, Rodney, Holly. Very humbled, honored to work with you guys, and look forward to.
Same here. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks to all of you for being with us. Dr. Roni, we're looking forward to next time. We had some tech issues today with you, but we're definitely looking forward to our next conversation. And we thank all of you for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thanks.